Welcome to the Village Talks podcast. This is a space where physiology meets lived experience, where we talk honestly about the body, the nervous system, relationships, and the real questions families are asking without fear-based narratives or one-size-fits-all answers. We're your hosts. I'm Dr. Jaimy.
And I'm Dr. Britney. We're chiropractors, perinatal specialists, and humans who work closely with families through preconception, pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and early parenthood. Whether you're preparing for pregnancy, currently pregnant, newly postpartum, raising a little one, or supporting someone who is, you're in the right place.
Let's get into today's conversation.
Welcome back to another episode of the Village Talks podcast. Today we are talking about support networks. Choosing your village. Now, if anyone has been a part of Belly Bliss here in Denver, you know that our mission, and it's been a part of our tagline and our business and all of that for almost 18 years. Because I know when Belly Bliss started, there were few and far between providers for this type of stuff. But what we have seen is everything grow really well, and the village is starting to become what it used to be, but it still needs some help. So we're going to kind of talk about it today and give you some ideas of ways that you can create your village. I love this.
The modern village is very different than what it was, even one generation ago, but certainly several generations ago. And that is for a variety of reasons, but I think the biggest change right now is we see so many more people who are moving geographically away from what has always been our traditional village or our traditional support system, right? I mean, when you talk about the literal term of village, right? We have a small gathering of people, a group of people who live together and interact with each other in their daily lives. And, there are still plenty of villages around the world where everything's on a barter system, an exchange system, and everybody lives to help each other out and can rely on each other for help and support. Yeah. And that's really not the modern world that we live in, and certainly not for us here in Denver. Denver does have what feels like a really transient population. Yeah. Colorado's beautiful. Denver's beautiful. We have so much to offer.
Don't tell anybody.
Year round. And so it is a place where a lot of people have decided they want to live at some point in their lives. This may not be their final destination. This may not be where they settle and buy their permanent home and have a job they're going to keep for 20 years. But it is definitely a place where people end up. Yeah. And oftentimes that is before they have kids because life is easier, right? It's easier to pack your crap and go and be mobile. That's how we ended up here. But it means you're leaving your support system behind. Yeah. And so there's trying to create a new support system, which can often happen through your workplace. Yeah. It can happen through your apartment building or your neighborhood.
I love my neighborhood.
Yeah. So there are ways that it can happen, but sometimes the ways that it happens normally or has happened in the past have altered. Yeah. So if you went remote with your job when you moved here, you're not building a village through your workplace. Yeah. If you moved into a neighborhood where the neighbors don't talk to each other, or sometimes we'll see families moving into very established neighborhoods, but everybody there is over the age of 70. Yep. So sometimes it isn't easy to build your village through the means in which we've built them in the past. Definitely. So building a modern village it just looks very different. I do think the upside is that there are more opportunities to do this online. Yeah. There are some great local and neighborhood parenting groups that run through Facebook and other things. So there are systems out there, but for most people, this is going to look really different than the village that happened naturally from growing up in a town with family close by or through a college experience or a previous workplace. It can look really different.
Yeah, very different. I mean, just speaking to my childhood, and I'm pretty sure your childhood maybe too, but my entire family lives in California.
Mhm.
And not just in California, they live in the same town. Maybe they've gone to some of the outskirts outside of where I'm from, but it's like a 20 to 40 minute drive, not bad. But I mean, my entire family's there still. I'm the only one really who's not there.
Yeah.
And growing up like that, we stayed at grandma and grandpa's house before getting put into daycare, and we would go to our cousin's house and stay with them and all that. So is definitely a different culture than it is today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think through pregnancy, right?
Mhm.
So if you did live in close proximity to a lot of family, or
Mhm.
you had friends that you grew up with, your pregnancy probably wasn't your first experience with pregnancy.
Yep.
You had watched other people
Mhm.
go through pregnancy. You had been around newborns and infants and kids of different ages,
Mhm.
through family or the neighborhood or your high school friend group or whatever that looked like. And again, there is a lot less of this now. I mean, growing up with, relatively large families on both sides, I think there was like one aunt or uncle on each side that did live far away.
Mhm.
But for the most part, yeah, everybody was pretty close.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that is a big change.
Definitely.
And I think it's experiences with pregnancy. I will ask patients that often, like, do you have any sisters or cousins or sister-in-laws that have had babies? And some of them are like, oh yeah, both of my older sisters have had babies. Great. You have some experience. It may be vastly different from your own experience. And even if they're not here geographically, you can still talk to them. You can still ask questions. And maybe they will come here and be support for you in those early days or weeks postpartum.
Yeah.
So I do think we do have a good amount of that where their support system becomes local for at least a little while.
A little bit. Yeah.
But yeah, we used to go to grandma and grandpa's house all the time.
Yep.
Or over to aunt and uncle's house, cousin's house, right? Like, it was knowledge through pregnancy. It was perhaps an expectation of birth, but maybe not.
Mhm.
And then, possibly some backup support postpartum. Like, I certainly don't remember what that looked like.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the second oldest, so many younger cousins. I was paying no attention to what their postpartum support looked like. But I do remember, like, being then of an age to remember getting dropped off at grandma and grandpa's house or having cousins over to play while parents ran errands. Like, there was just sort of that, there's always somebody around to help out.
Yep.
Right. Childcare is one of the hardest parts of parenting that I think I experienced and other parents experience. And the number of days where I was like, oh, there's a good job being at grandma's house for an hour, but grandma's house is 12 hours away,
Yeah.
So I think it impacts every single stage. And so I think for our patients, it starts in pregnancy.
Yeah.
And thankfully there are multiple, like, yes, We Are Your Village has been our tagline for 18 years. That was one of the foundations of why we were opened, was to create community in Denver for expecting parents, because nothing like that existed.
Yeah.
There are other things out there, and I know things exist in other cities as well. If it's out there, great. You gotta search for it, right?
Yep.
Ask around. And if it doesn't exist, I know people that have created it.
Absolutely.
I've had people reach out over the years of like, hey, I'm trying to start a collective in this tiny town in Kansas, or I'm up in the mountains here in Colorado and I'm trying to start something. And, it's like, awesome.
Yep.
Like, if you don't have it, and it's within your capacity to try to create it, then awesome.
Yeah.
But it can be challenging, because even you could end up in a mom's group or something where theoretically these people are all your age. Most of you are experiencing your first baby, your first pregnancies, your first baby, you're all in your second trimester. Like, that can all seem perfect, but you may not align on your parenting styles, your political views, there's so many different things. So it can be hard to really find like your true new parent bestie. And I think some people will also dismiss some of the people that could be part of their village because everything isn't perfect.
Yep.
And you don't need it to be perfect, right? But there is something to be said for somebody who some people are just natural villagers,
Yeah.
right? Like they're going to make food for every meal train out there that pops up on their feed, whether they know them or not, because they love to feed people.
Yep.
Right. And then you have other friends who they may be great for venting. They may be great for going out and grabbing a drink. They might be up for, a girls' weekend, but they don't know the first thing about how to support you postpartum.
Yeah.
So I think inherently we want to rely on the people that already exist as part of our support system, but understanding what you'll want and need from them, that takes a little bit of thought, I think.
Definitely.
We do want to be intentional about who we include as part of that village early on.
Yeah.
And then we can also look at who's missing from what we need to have as part of that village.
Absolutely. I was going to jump in real quick and sometimes it can feel really overwhelming and really scary to put yourself out there, especially in a new town and all that kind of stuff where you don't know a lot of people. But I so encourage it. I mean, here in Denver now, we have a couple different collectives where people are trying to create the village too. So if our location doesn't work, there are plenty of others.
Yes.
But find it in your town wherever you are, because I think why parenting now feels so isolating and so alone is because we have some people that we can lean on, and maybe they're there for the first 6 weeks, maybe. And then everyone kind of drops off because the baby's not very exciting anymore.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to navigate this alone or just the two of you. And the village was never supposed to be just you and your partner. That is so, so, so much to rely on. When it comes to, or to lean on, is just the two of you. It's too much.
Yeah.
You can't do it all by yourself, and you shouldn't have to do it all by yourself. Do people do it? Absolutely. But I do see a lot of burnout. I see a lot of overwhelm. I see a lot of overloaded nervous systems. And, it ends up sometimes where the mom quits their job because childcare is really expensive. And then we're also trying to figure out daycare, and then we're trying to figure out schools and all this. And it's just easier if I just stay home. And then who else is home with you? It's hard to kind of navigate all of that. So really encouraging people to find that village. If it's already created, great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and I mean, we have some patients too who have friends and family close by. We have patients who have, they grew up here and they have friends here, but they realize really quickly, or they do realize over time, that they actually can't rely on them for the support they need.
Yep.
And so I do think that physical in-person support is really, really crucial, because you can't do all of the things that go into the early newborn care, and also all the things you were doing in your house to keep, you're not cooking multiple meals a day. Laundry can become a daunting task, not to mention, are you doing weekly cleaning, biweekly cleaning? I think when we don't have kids, you don't have a perspective for how much time you have to do the things that you do. Right. And so suddenly things shift very dramatically. There's no time to do any of the things that you were doing because you are focused on keeping the tiny human alive. So if we can have someone come in for physical support, whether that's a family member or a friend or paid support, a postpartum doula is really valuable here as well. And they're not just holding the baby while you do the laundry or while you run the errands, or, they can do that, right? The right support, who we need to build in our village, is the person who's going to do whatever it is you need them to do. Right. And so sometimes people are like, can you just take the baby? I need a nap. And sometimes it's like, I've got the baby. I need you to take the dog to the vet, and I need you to pick up groceries on the way home. And then I need you to fold this load of laundry. Not everybody's willing to do those things.
Totally.
So I think, and you can anticipate as much as possible and try to think ahead and build your village and put things in place, right? And people think like, oh, my mom's going to come stay with me for a week or 2 weeks. Awesome. That's exactly the kind of planning we need to do. But
Then what?
Does your mom need to be hosted?
Mm-hmm.
Is she used to you taking her to high tea when she's here
Yeah.
and taking her for a hike and doing this thing? Because this can be a very different trip.
Yep.
Or like, great, that's all good. Maybe partner goes back to work and then they take their paternity leave after family leave. Like, these are the things. Like, you need to plan for a minimum of 6 weeks of support, but then also be thinking, okay, what is your vision after that 6 weeks?
Yeah.
Like, are you going back to work? Do you have 4 months of maternity leave? Because now all the help is gone and you're home.
Yeah.
But that's also really isolating to suddenly be at home all day with a baby. And maybe things are easier for you at 6 weeks than they were at 2 weeks. But if you're an extrovert and you're a really social person, sitting home all day alone is really hard.
Yep.
And if you are an introvert and you're fine sitting home all day, it's still really different than what it was before.
Totally.
And sometimes it is still a little bit of a struggle.
Yeah.
So,
and running errands for the first time with a newborn in tow is very different, but it just completely changes your routine. And so figuring that out too and having people to lean on in that time is really important, even, after 6 weeks.
Absolutely.
Because it's still changing and you're still adapting. You're still trying to figure out what it looks like and how it feels. And what a lot of people don't realize is that, an hour workout class is sometimes 3 or 4 hours of childcare because you have to factor in the commute. You have to factor in, okay, I need to get there 15 minutes early so I can get a spot. And then I'm going to do my class. And then I'm going to socialize. And then I'm going to clean up. Then I'm going to go back to what's the traffic like during that time? Like, there are so many mental factors that go into just one workout class when you're a new parent.
Yep.
Multiple, whether you have 1, 2, 3, like, it doesn't matter. Like, when you start building your family, those look very different than when it was just you.
Yep. Things aren't as simple and straightforward. Yep. And you're no longer just responsible for or taking yourself into consideration. Yeah. So suddenly everything becomes like planning a family vacation, or you've got to coordinate with who's going to stay where and where are we going to eat and who's getting the tickets to this. And it's like your life becomes that level of planning everything every day. And we don't say this to like try to overwhelm people, but just that I think those are some of the pieces that surprise people.
Absolutely.
And so this is where, if you do have somebody that you can rely, like even just doing like a babysitting swap with another mom of like, hey, one day a week, can I drop my baby with you for 3 hours? And then one day a week, you can drop your baby with me. Like, anybody can handle 2 babies for 3. Well, any mom can handle 2 babies for 3 hours, probably. Where it's like that, 3 hours doesn't sound like a lot in the course of the week, but that can be the difference between. That can be the thing that brings your nervous system into balance. That can be the thing that sort of resets your mental health for the week,
Definitely.
So I think that one of the parts of planning for this village and planning for, what is this, how can you best meet your needs is what were you doing before pregnancy, right? During pregnancy, are there certain things that you miss? Yeah. Or postpartum, are there certain things that you miss? Are those things that we can bring back in? Like, what is it about you miss? Like, well, I used to go to trivia night at the bar with my friends every Thursday. All right, maybe we're not taking the baby to the bar, but was it those friends? Was it the trivia? Was it the alcohol? Like, what is there some piece of that we can really look at and analyze and plan for? Yeah. And then how can we do something similar to still get that result, right? So I mean, maybe now it is a walk around the park with some mom friends. Yep. Maybe it is a baby and me yoga class. Maybe it is getting a sitter and going out with those friends once a week. Yes. Trying to figure out, because if we've gone from all of these things that are part of our identity, right, and are how we feel connected with our community, with our village, with our partner, and then all of that is immediately gone. Yeah, we've already talked about the massive identity shift that happens, and sometimes this is part of it. Absolutely. And so it takes effort to build a village. It does. And then we've also talked about if you want a village, you have to be willing to be a villager. Exactly. Right. Yep. And sometimes that's too much. Right. I do think some of the language and the phrasing that I hear or conversations that I see online is everybody wants everybody else to help them. Yeah. Right. Or they're like, they acknowledge I need help, but I think for a lot of people, they're in so much overwhelm from day to day that they need help. They're not capable of helping.
Yep.
And I think that in, an older village, it is a little bit more of, you have people who've been through this before, right? Those who have older kids are stepping in and helping, right?
Yeah.
The grandmas are coming in and helping because you have the experience, you understand the help that's needed, and you have the time and the energy to do it.
Exactly.
And so that, I know that feels like a little bit of a challenge with our specific population, is we really do specialize in pregnancy postpartum, but the majority of our clientele are not 5, 10, 15 years postpartum. We have some of those for sure,
definitely.
but the majority of our clientele are still very much in the childbearing years, the years where we have infants and toddlers. And that is the hardest time to also be a villager.
Definitely.
And so I think, if there are people that are listening to this podcast and are kind of on the other side of those crazy early years of parenthood, that's really where you kind of have hopefully you can think of someone or something that supported you in a really meaningful, important way when you were in that phase.
Yeah.
Do you now have it within your capacity to step in and step up and provide that support to this not even next generation of parents, but even just a couple years later?
Definitely.
And so I think that's a little bit of the nuance of why it is so hard to build a village, right? Because right now the village needs more villagers.
Yes.
And not everybody in the village we serve is capable of that right now. And so, I think we certainly, even within our team, have a lot more postpartum doulas than we did before.
Yeah, we do.
And it's because people need it. And I think parents recognize that they need it, and that isolation is challenging, and it is really too much for just two people to take on without any external support. Having a postpartum doula isn't accessible to everyone. And so I think that is, as if it's within your capacity, even to just do a childcare swap, right? Like that can be huge. And you don't even have to get along with a mom. We're not saying you got to hang out with each other,
but just a little bit goes a long way.
A little bit goes a long way.
And it even too, just when it comes to how you can support as a villager too, sometimes it's not asking in the postpartum moment, what can I do? Because that's more mental load for the mom who's like, I don't know what I need right now. And so sometimes it's coming over and dropping off something, whatever that looks like, and then scanning. How's the house look? What's going on over here? Does she need some alone time? Does she need, going out time or something? Like you kind of have to do that little mental scan because maybe what worked for you may not work for them, and maybe it does, right? So it's a little bit more nuanced and like, okay, how can I support you? And they're like, I don't know.
I don't even know.
Yeah, like I'm so tired and my brain's coming back online and I'm trying to navigate this whole thing. Maybe helping with the dishes might be helpful, but that's even still a lot for them to kind of like figure out. And so just doing a mental checklist when you go over and drop something off, even if you're like doing a quick DoorDash, like say hi, bye, and just do a quick scan like, ooh, okay, maybe I will offer to help clean or whatever. Something like that can be really helpful. I think when it comes to how we can be villagers, because it's more than just a meal train. That's very helpful. But there are other things that we can do as well to create that support for them.
Yeah, I think that, as providers, there's only so much we can do. And we've had that conversation as well of trying to respect the line that like we are a provider, but also like this person needs so much more than what we can provide to them. And so, we can be there for guidance, for information education, for physical support. There's lots of hugs and lots of tears in our office. A calm, safe place to hang out with no expectations and no judgment.
There's a reason why our lobby is called the living room.
There's a lot that can come through different arenas. So it doesn't just have to be your family. It doesn't just have to be your neighborhood. It doesn't just have to be your friends. This can be providers. This can be formal groups.
Yeah.
You know, I think some people are like, oh, it feels really clinical or that feels really cold. And I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe, but try it at least once,
Yep.
right? Like sometimes people are like, well, I'm not going to go to a breastfeeding support group because I'm not really struggling. And I'm like, I mean, that's okay. You can just show up and be in a room with other breastfeeding moms.
Yep.
Like there's something to be said for that.
Absolutely.
You can see 3 moms walking strollers together at the park. Is it going to be super awkward to walk up and be like, hey, can I walk with you?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Do
Hopefully they're not going to be rude and clicky and say
Yeah.
no. But I think, for the most part, this time is when people are way more open to receiving and providing this kind of support because it really is an inherent understanding of like, yeah, this is tough.
Yeah.
And so I think, yes, the village can be a whole lot of different people, and the type of support people need varies greatly.
Yeah.
So if you are being a village of somebody you already know, think about what they need, not what you needed.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, then great, try with what you needed, right? For sure. Because like I think of a friend who, like, I literally just dropped food on the porch and then texted her and was like, dinner's there. She did not want anybody in the house. She didn't want to see anybody interact with anybody. I was like, but I know you need to eat. So it's on the porch. Eat it when you want.
Yep.
Do I want to see your baby? Of course I want to see your baby. But I respect what you have said you want and you need for this time.
And that's not the point of being a villager either, too, right? Is like not to just go hold cute babies. It's to support the people who have the baby.
Yep.
Then you can hold like,
Yeah.
I mean, I've had clients like, I hold my baby hostage and have somebody do something, and then they can hold my baby. I'm like, that's great too. If that
Absolutely.
works.
It's an exchange. It's a trade. You want to see my baby? What do you got for me?
Yeah.
You bringing me food? You doing my laundry?
Yep. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And anybody who's had kids, I think is really going to understand that and they're going to be fine with it.
Yep.
And if they're not, then
maybe they're not your village.
Maybe they might not be the villager that you need right now.
Exactly. Yep.
I do think too that, one of the potentially challenging pieces with relying on family and friends for that support is kind of, what we said is like the support that they needed may not be the support you need. There can also be people who are coming in and giving a lot of unsolicited advice, who have comments, perhaps judgmental comments about what you're doing. So this can be like, I know that friend had negative feedback about the fact that she wasn't allowing anyone into her home for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And another friend was super upset because what she needed was somebody to come in and help with her older kiddo.
Yeah.
And so that friend offered that. She took that kiddo on play dates. That was what she needed. Well, then, that the other friend wanted to come pick up her kiddo and do play dates and wanted to come into the house and do cleaning and stuff. And she was like, no, we are a family unit for 2 weeks. Nobody's coming in, nobody's going out, whatever. And it created major friction in that relationship. Yeah. So I think it's, as the person who's asking for support, if you know what you need, ask for what you need.
Yep.
If you don't know, then hopefully you get what you need. But if you are getting friction or you are getting judgment or you are getting, those are not the people you want to surround yourself with right now, because you don't need that. Exactly. That's not the kind of support you need. Yeah. If doing your laundry comes with a side of snark about how ugly the baby's clothes, whatever, I can think of a million examples.
Or you choose not to swaddle versus they swaddle. Like there's so many different ways of parenting and how we choose to do it that, the judgment starts from the minute you find out that you're pregnant when it comes to.
It's before that.
I know.
How many people are making it to 30 without somebody asking them when they're going to start having babies?
Oh, yeah. Yes. But it starts really, really soon. And trying to, as the person who needs support and as the person who's giving support, it's not about you.
Yeah.
It's about what that person needs in the moment. How can you serve them? And if what they're doing isn't what you like, that's okay. You don't have to like it because it's not your family. It's not your kid. And if someone's doing something for you that actually isn't what you need, say, thank you so much. I really appreciate that you're taking the time to do all this, but this would be more helpful instead.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. If you can kind of keep that, easier said than done when we're sleep deprived. I get it. But that's going to be way more supportive than not.
Absolutely. Because for the most part, any help or support that's being provided is well-intentioned, hopefully without verbal judgment.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that's an important thing too. Like if somebody is offering the type of support, sometimes it's like, okay, great, thanks. And you just kind of let it slide. You don't need it, but it's also not causing you stress. It's not detrimental.
Yep.
Then we appreciate it and we move on.
Exactly.
I had my own experience of someone offering support that was not helpful and, definitely was snappy about it and hurt somebody's feelings. And I felt terrible afterwards, and they were like, no, it's fine. I get it. I was like, it's not fine. I'm like, I know you get it. And I'm sorry. I just, I needed support, but it wasn't that support, which was more stressful for me in that moment. So it can be challenging from both sides. I think that most new parents you're just trying to figure it out too, right? So sometimes the unsolicited advice, if it is well-intentioned and is shared not from a place of judgment, but like, oh, I see the baby is like really kicking and arching, like maybe that's gas, right? Have you tried bicycling their legs? Right? And some parents are going to be like, yes, of course I've tried that. Or like, oh, is that what that is? No, let me oh my gosh, that works, right? So it's when we're trying to share and give advice, you need to do so from a non-judgmental space.
Absolutely.
Also, not be offended if someone doesn't take your advice.
Exactly.
And then not always, not take any advice given immediately as judgment on the choices you're making.
Yeah.
Or just because you didn't know that was gas doesn't make you a bad mom, right? Like you're trying to figure out your new little human. You can have all the ideas in the world about how you're going to parent and what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. And you're probably going to change your mind about half or more of those. Yeah. So you're allowed to change your mind.
Yeah.
Don't be judgmental with yourself.
Exactly.
But as the villager, try also not to be judgmental when people are doing different things, or don't take the advice or the support that you're wanting to give.
Yep. And I would say too, like the village, when we're talking about the village, it is your friends, it is your family, and it's also having your providers too. It's not one or the other, it's both. We need them because they all serve a different purpose. So let's talk about some of the ways we can build our village with providers, like who for, pregnancy and maybe in postpartum and what that looks like. And then kind of navigate like where to find them.
Yeah. Because I feel, at Ballet Bliss, we all exist as what I would call the extended village.
Yes.
Right. I think the one person that everybody hires at the first hire, the first person on the birth team or the village is your OB or midwife.
Yeah.
And a lot of people stop there. And depending on what the rest of your village looks like, right? If your mom is a lactation consultant and your best friend is a doula, you may already have your birth team in your existing village.
Yep.
Most people don't. And so, yes, finding an OB or a midwife who is there to monitor the health and safety of you and your baby is absolutely crucial. Yeah. But there are so many other pieces to this journey that starting to build a professional or provider village or birth team is really, really important.
Yeah.
And if the things that you have done outside of pregnancy, right? You don't go to your primary care anymore. Now you go to your OB.
Yeah.
What are you doing for exercise and fitness? What do any of your other providers look like, right? Do you already have a massage therapist? Are you already doing chiropractic?
Yeah.
Are you going to hot yoga? Like all of these things should begin shifting into a pregnancy focused realm, because those are the villagers that then support you through pregnancy and are most likely to also be able to support you through birth and that postpartum journey.
Yeah, definitely.
And then there is the shift from pregnancy to postpartum too, right? Like you're not doing weekly lactation consults in your pregnancy. But if you are planning to at least attempt breastfeeding, you need to to understand who your local lactation consultants are.
Yep.
If you're planning to use your insurance, you need to know which ones take your insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like pediatricians. Most people have picked their pediatrician before their baby's born.
Yep.
So great, you've picked the primary provider for your baby, but
who's supporting you?
That's just it. And then who's that broader network of providers that also support babies?
Yeah.
And so I think that, if you really don't know anyone outside of your OB or midwife, that's where you start.
Yeah.
Right? Is asking them, who do you recommend for these services, or who are the providers that you've worked with?
Yeah.
If you're not getting good answers from them or don't have an appointment for a month, then you go to your current village, right? Do you have family and friends around who've had a pregnancy in recent years? Asking your mom who lives out of state who the number one pregnancy chiropractor is, like that. I mean, unless she's a chiropractor, she's probably not going to know, or your friend at work who had babies 20 years ago. That's probably not up to date, relevant information.
Yep.
But ask anybody who already exists in your village that's been through this recently.
Yeah.
That's always a good place to start. Or they may say like, oh, absolutely don't go to this person.
Yep.
Right. Or, like, oh, well, I just kept going to my regular hot yoga classes. Well, hopefully you've read that hot yoga isn't recommended. And so maybe don't go to those yoga classes, look around, right?
Yeah.
The internet is a wealth of information.
Definitely.
And anytime you're looking for those who kind of specialize, who are really there to support, whatever information they're putting out into the world should also reflect that.
Definitely.
Right. So if you're at the gym and you're looking for a new personal trainer, the guy whose Instagram is full of male bodybuilders is probably not the best personal trainer to support you through pregnancy, right? Yes. I'm sure he's great at that.
Yep.
But you wouldn't hire a primary care physician that specializes in men's health.
Yeah.
Why would you hire anyone else to support you through pregnancy?
Mm-hmm.
So, building the village of providers, building that birth team, I think is a little bit nuanced as well.
Definitely. I mean, there is a financial component to all of it as well. We totally understand that. But just in terms of, OB midwife, maybe a birth or postpartum doula, IBC, LC lactation consultant, pelvic floor physical therapist, like bare minimum, I would say those providers. And there are other people out there too. Like it's just, people who specialize in these things that can also walk you through both stages, I think can also be really helpful. But there are people who do it one stage really well. Yeah. There are like birth versus postpartum doulas. There are people who only do those. There are people who do both birth and postpartum, right? So you can find your providers like that too. But I think that can be just like a basis starting point. Massage therapist, right? Also that goes into it too. So there's lots of different things that you can navigate, mental health services, all that kind of stuff. Just, you don't have to utilize all of those services, but just to have like a list of people. So if you do need to lean on any one of those services, you already know where to go. Yeah. Yeah. And I would say before postpartum happens, that would be really great to kind of do in your pregnancy.
Yes. And I think once part of what I love so much about, our collaboration with Belly Bliss is, I always tell people, I want everybody on the team to know each other because the only person that's vetted everyone on the team is me. And so there is a sense of like, well, if you trust him, I trust him too. Yeah. But I think that, if you can get dialed in with any one person as you begin to build this team, then you also have a trusted resource to go beyond that.
Exactly.
Right. So that's kind of why, like, start with someone or something you know.
Yeah.
And you're probably, I could go through the list of all the people we have on our team. You probably don't absolutely need to see every single person on our team.
Yeah.
But to have a list of people, to have a person that has a list of resources. We have a community resource page for a reason, right? Like these people don't work in our office, but we've worked with them. Like we trust them.
Yep.
You trust us and we trust them.
Yep.
That's a good way to kind of build your team and build your village. Yeah. It at least is the groundwork. It doesn't mean you connect with every one of those people. It doesn't mean you need every one of those services. But if you wait until you need each of those things to then go out and seek it out, it's overwhelming,
So overwhelming.
to try to find it and to try to choose based on geographic location. Well, this person said this and this person said that, and this one takes my insurance. Like, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So if you have some time during your pregnancy, and I promise you do, because if you don't think you have time now, just wait until you have a baby, to at least start thinking about what kind of support do I need in pregnancy, later in pregnancy, in postpartum, and at least know where to go or who to ask when the time comes.
Yep.
And we get those questions sometimes, like, do you know anybody that does blah, blah, blah? Do you
Yeah,
know anybody that does placenta encapsulation?
Definitely,
Like, we do.
Yeah.
So to have somebody, at least one person, one source that you trust and you can rely on, not for them to do it all, because that's too much to ask of anybody. But they're going to know who does and kind of be able to make those recommendations for you, which is just removing a barrier, right? Removes a layer, because there frequently will be in a state of overwhelm and trying to have to make one more decision, or it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
We don't want to make more work.
And we're not saying it's a lot to stress people out, overwhelm them, or anything like that. We are speaking to the reality that I think social media and Instagram and all this kind of stuff, like, they make it so like pretty, and it's just, the positives of all the things, and it looks like it's so easy. And I'm like, I guarantee you, they have had crash outs, and they have had meltdowns, and they have had bad days. And you might not see that on social media, but it happens. And just bringing the reality of the situation too, so you're prepared for it. And you're not going to be prepared for everything. There's going to be curveballs all the time. But if we can kind of help mitigate some of the like falling in our face and like being in the weeds of things, like, we're going to be here for that for sure. Yeah.
I do think that, there are definitely some social media pages and channels out there that represent a more realistic expectation.
It's gotten better,
but most of what's out there is the best of the best of the best. They are capturing 2 very curated minutes of their day that represents the best moment they can hope to create. Right? That's not anyone's reality every minute of every day. And it's certainly not going to be the reality for the majority of our clientele, right? The majority of our clientele do not have live-in help. They do not have endless financial resources. There are obstacles to that perfect Instagram lifestyle. It's just not, even with all the best support and all the money in the world, it's not what it looks like every minute of every day. So it doesn't mean don't watch those, right? And don't hope for that. But I think for a lot of people, they see that and they think that's how things are supposed to be. And then they feel like crap that's not what their reality looks like. Or they're striving for something and killing themselves for something that isn't truly reality and attainable. I'm like, take your family pictures. Get your newborn photos. Get your family pictures. Like, yes, everybody's at 100%. Great hair, great makeup, great clothes, great everything. And we have literally a millisecond captured. That's reality. You can hope to get one phenomenal picture out of that photo shoot. That is not day to day.
The best family photo that I've ever been shown was, they got all the things that they needed. It was great. And then they were doing some candid things, and mom went to go pick up baby, and the photographer captured it where baby just vomited right in mom's face. And you see a stream of vomit coming from baby into mom's face. And it was like, yes.
Glad it was at the end and not the beginning. The number of newborn photos with poop. Or spit up. Like action shots of fluids coming out of, because newborn photos, they're always naked because everybody loves their cute little tushes. But that is more the reality of day-to-day life. And so I think as we look at, social media is not going away anytime soon. So I think just be mindful about what kind of feed you've curated. And if you find yourself experiencing negative feelings in your body when this channel or this person comes up, please unfollow them. They're not contributing anything positive to your life. Now, if it's a mental health provider talking about the nuances of postpartum mental health and you don't like what you hear because you know it's talking about you, okay, maybe don't unfollow that one.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe we listen to that, but there is a lot of look at my perfect life on social media.
Yeah.
And some people look at it and they're like, I love her vibe. I'm going to try to dress like her.
Yeah.
But you don't take it as a personal judgment.
Yep.
And you don't feel like your life is lacking because it doesn't look like
Exactly.
that.
Yep.
That's a healthy way to approach social
Yeah.
media, I
Yeah.
think, and a little bit more realistic. But what are we doing with all that isolated time when we're not with our village? We're scrolling through social media.
Yeah.
So is it bringing anything positive? Maybe you're scrolling through social media and you get an ad for a local group that meets at the park every week and goes for a walk.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's the potential to build your village and there's the potential for connection through social media, which is lovely.
Yeah.
I think those are the parts of the modern village, right? Those are the things that are probably going to replace what we've come to rely on in previous generations.
Yeah.
But it also requires you to get off the couch and go to the park and walk around with that group of moms.
Absolutely.
Is it like if you're an introvert? Yeah, it's going to be awkward and it's going to be hard. But there might be another really awkward introverted mom there. Not that all introverts are awkward, but somebody else, it might also be the hardest thing they do all day.
Yeah.
And the two of you were like, yeah, this social butterfly group is not for us. Do you just want to meet alone at the park on a different day? Yeah, great. Right?
Yeah.
Like opportunities have to be created for you. We work really hard to create those opportunities.
Yeah.
We've talked about shipping patients in the living room of like, they need to be scheduled back to back. I think they'll be best friends.
Yeah.
We try to create the opportunities, but you also have to seek out the opportunities and you have to take the opportunities to try to meet people and grow and build your village. And we absolutely understand how difficult and challenging that can be in this phase too.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Anything else you want to touch on? I think that was
I don't think so.
I know. Yeah.
I think it was good. Yeah. It's for us, it's constantly trying to provide opportunities and figure out what people want and need. I would say that's something, that a takeaway from today is if you're watching this as someone who is a villager and you have found something that works really well in your community, please share, right? So we can bring it to our community and other people. And if you are someone who is still struggling to find your village, what are you looking for? What do you feel is missing, or what type of opportunity would be something you just couldn't pass up and could get you, showered and out of the house? What's enough of a draw? Because that's always, I talk to other business owners here and kind of around the country who are trying to create something similar. And it is that constant conversation of, people say they want this and then we do this and then nobody shows up. Or, we know that parents need this information and we've created this educational opportunity, but nobody signed up for it, right? Or we have this other thing where it was just kind of a random thought and we did it and it was so wildly popular. I'm like, oh my gosh, like we need to do this more often. This can't be a one-off thing. This has to be a regular thing because this is what people want and need. So I think that's the feedback I'm myself and other people who are trying to create villages are always looking for, right? What do you want? What do you need? What's really going to drive you to get out and take advantage of an opportunity to potentially grow your village.
Definitely. Yep. So great. Awesome. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for listening to yet another episode of the Village Talks podcast. Leave anything, like Dr. Jaimy said, that you have for us in the comments. We'd really love it. And we'll catch you next time. Thanks so much. If you found today's episode helpful, you can subscribe, share it with a friend, or leave a review. It helps this podcast reach the families who need it most. You can find us at Belly Bliss in Denver and online for resources, workshops, and support. Until next time, take care of your body and trust its wisdom.